something important. I want you to see. Then I'll comment afterwards.
The introduction of a first of its kind state law. Law enforcement is charged with protecting and serving all communities. At times, the use of deadly force is used at a terrible cost to all that's involved. We need to ensure that our state policy governing the use of deadly force stresses the sanctity of human life and is only used when necessary. I want to acknowledge my colleagues here who are standing here with me at this time. I am Assemblymember Shirley Weber from the 79th Assembly District and the Vice Chair of the California Legislative Black Caucus. We have with us today, in terms of my colleagues, Mike Gibson, who represents, he'll tell me his district, your number? 64. District 64 in the LA area. Our president of our California Legislative Black Caucus, Chris Holden from District 41. We have with us Mr. Bradford, Senator Bradford, who is from District 35, and my I won't say co-conspirator, but really not. My joint author, but sometimes co-conspirator, who's here with me today, Mr. McCarty, who represents the 7th District, which is here in Sacramento. Colleague, Assemblymember Kevin McCarty, who is a joint author on this bill, to have a few words to say.
We need more of this.
Thank you, Dr. Weber, for your leadership, for stepping up. Certainly, I'm proud to join you as a joint author of this important legislation. Proud to partner with our sponsors. Some are here today. I know we have a few, but I want to mention ACLU and Black Lives Matter California and Sacramento. You know, the time is to act now. The nation is watching. Frankly, the world is watching right here in Sacramento. We have these incidents too often in our great country. We had one unnecessary killing right here in our own backyard of my hometown of Sacramento. It saddens me to see the attention on our hometown, but also inspires me it's time to act here in California. Too many people ask, how can a kid with a cell phone in his family's backyard be shot to death in the back by a law enforcement officer when they see examples of the 3,000 miles away, the Parkland shooter, not an African-American kid, gets arrested peacefully after slaughtering so many kids with an assault rifle? That's the question too many of us ask. Again, the time is now to act. Time for California to step up. The facts are the facts. The facts are young black men are 20 times more likely to be killed at the hands of a law enforcement officer than young Caucasian men. The time is now to revise this over 100-year-old law, which unfortunately too often justifies deadly force incidents. And this, I think, reasonable modernization, as Dr. Weber outlined.
Thank you. My name is Lizzie Buchan. I'm a legislative advocate with the ACLU, and I want to start by expressing my appreciation for everyone up here for leading the way on this truly landmark legislation. This is a long time coming, and it's clear that the community's call for action is being heard. This bill would change state law so that an officer can only use deadly force when it's necessary. Clearly, the current standard where they can use deadly force when they feel a serious threat isn't enough to prevent unnecessary deaths of members of the community, particularly people of color. It's given legal cover to the killings of Michael Brown, Tamir Rice, Philando Castile, Jessica Williams, many, many other killings that have devastated communities and resulted in people feeling less safe. Because it's clear that the current law protects the police, not the people. It allows officers to kill community members when they had other options or when they're the ones who created the danger. This bill establishes that it's not enough that the officer perceived a threat. There had to have been no other alternatives to using deadly force. Deadly force can no longer be the first response to a perceived threat. It can only be the last resort. This bill also makes sure that officers are held accountable if they created the circumstances that made force necessary.
Yes,
so if they jumped in front of a moving vehicle, if they rushed in to confront a person instead of keeping their distance and calling for backup, it would no longer be legal for an officer to kill someone in those situations. Under current law, an officer can assume that they are armed and they can kill them if they flinch in a way that could be construed as dangerous or reaching for a weapon. So that is not right.
All right. So let's look at the term ignorance. All right. Ignorance. Lack of knowledge or information. There are a lot of ignorant people. If we describe things by man's success, that does not always equate to somebody having a degree or a certain level of education or multiple degrees. They can still be ignorant. There are different levels of common sense. So some people say, oh, well, that's common sense. They should have it. Well, let's break it down. So let's go to the dictionary. Common sense. Good sense and sound judgment in practical matters. Your natural ability to make good judgment and to behave in a political and sensible way. So I'll tell you how there's different levels of common sense. So I was watching America's Dumbest Criminals a long time ago. And you know, when you go rob a bank, you probably sit and think about it. Like, you just don't wake up and just like, all right, I'm just going to rob a bank. That's it. He thought about it. He had a thought process. So long story made short, he had a paper bag, tore out some holes, and then he used his hand under his shirt to act like it was a gun. So what did he do? He went there, not knowingly. The bag got turned around or whatever like that. Needless to say, he got arrested. That was his whole thought process. So he thought about it. So I was watching the movie Detroit, and I was just sitting thinking like, man, God, like, we still going through this. Like, we still dealing with this. Like, what happened? And see, the problem is we keep trying to fight the people and not the system. So I went to get some research, and it says that Algiers motel killings occurred in Detroit, Michigan during the night of July 25th through the 26th, 1967, during the racially charged 12th Street riot. At the motel, approximately 1 mile east of where the riots began, 3 teenage civilians, all of them black, were beaten and killed by police. 9 others, 2 white females and 7 black males, were badly beaten and humiliated by members of a riot task force composed of Detroit Police Department, Michigan State Police, and the Michigan Army National Guard. The killings occurred after reports were received that snipers, a gunman, or a group of gunmen had been seen or near the motel. One death has never been explained. Really, never been explained, as the body was allegedly found by responding officers. 2 deaths have been attributed to justifiable homicide or self-defense. Really, but let's just get to it. Charges of felonious assault, conspiracy, murder, and conspiracy to commit civil rights abuse were filed against 3 officers. Charges of assault and conspiracy were filed on a private security guard. All were found not guilty. How ironic. So again, we are still fighting the system. This is why we have to change some bills. So let's go. Hosea 4:6. My people shall perish for lack of knowledge. All right, so let's give you an example of what I'm talking about. So the Oklahoma State Governor, Mary Fallin, signed the bill 1965 on May 5th, 2015, making texting while driving illegal in the state. Now, remember this. They didn't have a bill yet because cell phones weren't invented yet when they first started the Constitution and stuff. Like you heard the guy say, it was something over 100 years ago. Thus, the first cell phone... the first texting of a cell phone was in 1992. The test engineer, he sent it to a phone and they said Merry Christmas. Each year, over 330,000 accidents are caused while texting while driving to severe injury. So we know when that bill was created. Now watch this. The act went into law on November 1st, 2015. House Bill 2377 prohibits all drivers from using a mobile communication device while operating a motor vehicle. Now, this is what has to happen. What has to happen is, because there are officers, not all, some officers that are using excessive force, they need to be convicted. That's what there needs to be a law saying that they can be convicted. There are some good officers, but what's happening is they're creating more tension because those officers are getting a bad rap. The good officers are getting a bad rap. So we need people to get in position. We need to vote the right people out of office, vote the right people in that have the same issues on hand or anything like this, so we can get these bills passed, because that's what needs to go. And so I'm proud of all those that have stood together. And the thing, you can actually watch the whole clip. I'll actually put it in the drop of it if you want to see it as well too. It was a great clip, but I just wanted to highlight some points on that and what needs to be done, because we keep fighting. Like I said, this happened in 1967, this particular incident, which there are many more than that, but we're still fighting the people and not fighting the system that needs to be changed. Because as you see, you listen to them, they already said that. But I'll leave you with this. This is a quote Martin Luther King said on the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, August 28th, 1963. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed, that all men are created equal. We all should be created equal. And when we understand it, when we talk to certain people, when they hear Black Lives Matter, all they hear in their mind, because of the ignorance of not having the proper knowledge, is that you're saying only Black Lives Matter. No. That's why people can say Blue Lives Matter when you're really just talking about the cops. But you got to understand, when you're dealing with people, some people are very ignorant and they don't even know it.